never really taught anything. He just gave an experience, you know, and like for Vayu and Agni, and because they kind of went away from that, they were not able to get anything from it. But Indra, when he came, I guess he was ready, so therefore that's how a teacher came. So which kind of maybe shows that you can have this experience that bursts the bubble or whatever, but you still need a teacher to actually get the knowledge. So you cannot just get it from just one glimpse or something.
So the difference between Yaksha and Uma. Uma stands for knowledge. The purpose of Yaksha appearing was for them to see that what they were so proud of, that they, the victory belongs to them, they can do so much, that had to be shaken. But when it got shaken, they didn't stand and ask a little bit more. So that kind of an experience, what Tibu is describing, it did shake them, but it didn't lead to knowledge of anything, right? But Indra was wise, so there was the knowledge. So that means there is something which shakes you in life, and then there is something which makes you what? If you are smart, you will then, as a result of that, what? Seek the knowledge, right? That not everybody does.
Okay. Agni is expressed by vacha.
Very good.
And Vayu is expressed by hearing. So
no, Vayu is a sense of touch. Sense of touch. And hearing is space.
But and Indra,
he has
Bala.
Mind.
But mind. So if you want to have knowledge, it cannot be only through vacha or.
Excellent. This is the second interpretation. How did you get it?
I was thinking.
Wow, super.
Rudra we chant here. No? So in
yes.
Rudra, there.
Destroy your ignorance.
Agni vacha shrita vacha hridaya.
Hridaya mai amrutam brahmani. Wow. Did you figure it? She figured it out, and I told you that there is a whole second interpretation of this story, and she just said that. Wow. Very good. Excellent.
And you will.
No, that will come. That will come. It's really nice. Thanks, Brunali. That's an amazing observation that you came with your own thinking. Wow, that's nice. Okay, so that means, so now Agni and Vayu also knows, and Indra also knows. In doing that, we did so many things. We did difference between Yaksha and Uma. We saw the indispensability of words, without which, whether you are here or you are somewhere else in heaven, what you need pramana. The pramana, without pramana, knowledge cannot take place. And what is that pramana? The words, because these senses, even if you have very refined senses, it can't get to its own truth. That is why you need an independent means of knowledge which points to that presence, because of which your senses, whether they are not so refined or very refined, they work. You don't have access through the senses, nor through a mind which is refined by itself cannot figure it out. What is the presence because of which the mind does its job, right? So now, the next verse is saying, Tasmat va indraha ati taram eva anyan devan. So that's why they say among all the devas, what Indra is the most exalted. Why? Saha enan uttishtam sparsha. What happened to him? What happened? This knowledge came, right? Why did this knowledge came to him vis-a-vis all the other devas?
Because he had a real question.
Yeah, he had a real question.
He was the only one who really, the nature of the quality of his question
led to the answers. Exactly. Very good. So the quality, so that means you can only ask questions based on what you understand. So suppose your questions are becoming more and more refined, what does it show? That your understanding is becoming better and better. Because you only can ask from what you understand, what you even know what you don't understand. Right? You can't ask about things that you don't understand and you don't know that you don't understand. So that means this teaching takes you to a place where first level you say, I don't understand this, and suppose you begin to understand this, then comes the next level of question. Suppose you begin to understand that, then comes the next level of question, till the time that you know this truth completely. You understand? So the quality of your questions is also an indicator of your understanding. As your understanding becomes subtler and subtler, your quality of your questions becomes subtler and subtler, more and more refined. Okay? So this is what it says. He's smart. And then Sabha ena pratamaha vidanchakara brahma iti. He was the first one to figure out what Brahman was. But after that, with this knowledge, what did he do? He just was like very happy that, oh, now I know the reality. What did he do? He passed it on. Along with this knowledge comes the responsibility to pass it on. It's a very important responsibility, because that's why this tradition, unless everybody participates in what continuing this tradition, it will just go away. So this is what we see. Many times people ask me, they said, you know what, all these civilizations, whether it is Egyptian civilization or a Greek civilization, they were amazing civilizations. They were not ordinary civilizations. Why they became extinct? Now you go to Egypt, you see pyramids and they become almost like a museum. But the present day Egypt people, do they carry this knowledge? Do they carry this sophistication? Do they carry that finesse? So what happened? Same people, same ancestors. Why?
No foundation. Not passed on.
Not passed on. Exactly. So that means you can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't pass it on, it becomes what? Extinct. So therefore, the person who is holding the knowledge has a certain responsibility to pass on that knowledge. The second thing, which is also very important, suppose you want to pass on the knowledge but there is no taker. What will happen? No? So again it will become extinct. So that means that there are, so that's why. So why is it that all of a sudden there are no takers for this knowledge? It's an interesting question, because how come all of a sudden such a rich tradition, such a rich culture, over a period of time, it can just become extinct? Why?
Because there's an influence of a more technical or other things. We see it in China, we see it in India, this Ayurveda, this knowledge. And the West has its own things and it looks more modern or whatever. And then the things are lost.
Invaders effect. Invaders effect.
Invaders, okay. So, I think there are several things which account for that. The first thing which could be, there are several possibilities. There is not only one reason why it gets extinct. The first thing is that, as Carl very rightly said, the forms have to evolve, right, all over the world. So what happens is, as the forms evolve, different possibilities emerge. So that means, suppose you are doing something like this, but now somewhere else in the world, people are doing things differently, and that may seem attractive to you. So naturally what happens, there is a natural tendency for people to go towards that. So that means newer and newer options will keep coming in front of you. So you have to see the value of what you have in order to preserve it. Otherwise, the human mind is such, it will go towards new forms. That is a very natural tendency, right? New possibilities that will go. So therefore, the holders of this knowledge, what do they have to do? They can't afford to become orthodox. If they become totally orthodox and they just want to preserve not only the tradition but the form, and as people are exposed to more and more different types of forms, different kinds of thinking, and then what happens? They tend to go towards exploring other things, and you stick on to only your tradition and your form. What will happen? You will become obsolete. So that means the holder of the tradition has to be smart. It has to move with times. As you move with times, you can't afford to give up the knowledge. What do you need to do? Adapt to the new forms, not to keeping the tradition intact. That is what we call smart people when they keep the tradition going. They are able to see what cannot be changed and what can change. Right? So that means if you are not able to distinguish between what I have to hold on. Suppose in order to please my audience, somebody says I am not comfortable with idea of God because I have notions, and I said, okay, in order to please you, I'll give up teaching about Ishvara. What am I doing to the tradition? I'm not being sincere. Because my whole focus has become what? Pleasing others rather than what? Staying true to the tradition. So you can't do that. But suppose somebody asks you, can I replace the Vedic prayer with some other prayer that I myself say? Yeah? Why not? Exactly. Pray wonderful. So that means your ability to... Exactly. So that means you're not changing the vision, but you're accepting what that the forms could be different. It's not like your prayers will only be valid if you chant Vedic mantras. That's a sophisticated prayer which requires a lot of, somebody was just saying, who was telling me this morning, that it changes, I think it was, no, I don't know who it was, that it changes as Shirin was saying that I love chanting. Yesterday she was saying that as I chant these chants, something is happening to my mind, because my mind has to be careful about all the intonations, all the pronunciations. It has to hold so many things, and I find it relaxing. So that means there is some value for that form. But I can't say if you don't do it this way, then it will not be effective. That is also not true. Do you see that? I can see the beauty of one form, but I can also understand that other forms are also valid. If that flexibility you don't have, then what will happen is you will become outdated. So the holders of the tradition have to be wise. They have to hold on to things which are not available for change, right? Because then you actually change the vision altogether. But they have to be open to changes in forms. This is how the traditions continue. So this is where the knowledge of great over a period of time, either because people lose interest or the holders of the traditions, they don't know how to pass it on effectively, it becomes extinct. But the people who are exposed to this tradition, they have a responsibility. They have a certain responsibility to do their bit to at least pass it on. So I have a student who, he's not really my student, he's Swamiji's student, but he now comes to me. And he goes out of his way, and he's pretty, he's quite, he is successful, and he's very like a leader. And he uses his position of leadership to invite all his friends and come to Vedanta class. So I asked him, hey, why are you going like out of your way? It's not like I'm in need of students or anything, out of your way to get all your friends to come and listen to it. He says, his answer was very interesting. He says, I'm indebted to this tradition. What I was before I heard this knowledge and what I am now, there is such a huge quantum jump in my growth, in my understanding. And suppose I benefit from this tradition, and if I don't use a certain position that I enjoy in the society to expose others to this tradition, I would not do my job, my duty. He said, but once, it's interesting, he said, my job is to give them the first opportunity to listen to it. After that, they have to decide whether they want to continue or not. I'm not going to continue to push them. That will become what somebody who's like trying really hard to convert. You don't want to convert anybody, right? And that is not at all the vision. It's not like, please come to my party. That's not at all, right? But if you feel that there is a tradition in this universe which is not only, suppose Egypt lost all the knowledge, is it only the loss of the country or humanity? Humanity. Please understand that. The Greek civilization lost the knowledge, it is loss of humanity. Don't think it's only the loss of Greek culture. Similarly, if you are holding this tradition, if you have been blessed to expose yourself to this tradition, and if it is benefiting you, you have to do your tiny bit. This is what his vision was. And he says, after that, that's my job. First expose, after that, it is entirely up to others whether they take it or not, because that really depends upon what they are looking for in life, right? I'm not somebody to tell them what they should do or should not do. But that there is this kind of a possibility, I want them to hear it once in their lifetime. What a mature, what a sophisticated approach to the whole thing, right? So now Indra also does that. Indra got it. He could have just said, oh, these devas are so silly. Now I am the one, I'm cool, I got it, right? But then immediately after he got it, what does he do? He passes it on to Indra, to Agni and Vayu, right? So, now, Atha Adhyatma.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
So it says here that Indra was more exalted than the other two because he got it first.
Yes.
What does it mean? It's not
Yeah.
the same knowledge.
No, it is the same knowledge, but he was the first one, right? So that's why the story. The story was that who actually had an opportunity to learn it first?
Him.
No. Why? The Agni was sent first, right? Agni was sent first. If Agni had used that opportunity to actually inquire further, he could have been the first one. So that means Yaksha is in form of a possibility. Do you see? And then the Vayu also was, after Agni, Vayu was given the possibility. But that possibility did not take up. So who was the one who first took up the opportunity? It was Indra, right? So Indra was the first one to know. Why was he the first one to know? Because he was the one who asked first, right? But later on, that doesn't mean Vayu and Agni were doomed. What happened? Just because that event had left certain impression in them, that after reflecting on it, they later became ready for it. And when they became ready for it, then what happened? Indra passed on his knowledge to them.
That still doesn't...
So once knowing, there is no difference. But before knowing, so that's why there is Guru Shishya Parampara, right? So suppose you can say, yeah, what is the difference between Guru and Shishya? Suppose the Shishya knows the reality, right? Both of them know. What they know is exactly the same, but who knew it first? Guru. And without Guru, Shishya would not have known. And this is why, after every class, what you know is exactly what everybody else knew, but you stop by saying Guru Pyo Namaha. If it was not this tradition, this knowledge, I would not have known to pass it on to you. So that means there is a chronological order. Yeah, obviously. So what we do is, when we get this knowledge, we don't forget the tradition which has worked so hard to make it possible for us.
But there are two things in this verse that somehow indicate that the first one is more privileged. So first one says that he was more exalted than the other two, and the second says that he got it from the closest. So I mean, it's the same knowledge, same effect for everybody,
Yeah.
same understanding.
See, what is important now, it is not, as I just tried to explain to you, after the knowledge takes place, what people understand is the same, that of course. But this is what I said, suppose Guru and Shishya, after Shishya gets knowledge, the knowledge is exactly the same. Does it take away from the fact that Guru is more exalted from the standpoint of Shishya? No, because without the presence of that Guru, that it would not have been possible. Do you understand that? So for me, the reverence still remains. It's not like, now I know exactly what my Guru does. Do you see what I mean? There is always a reverence. There is a reverence because for you, without him, it would not have been possible. So it's reference to, yeah. But what you know is exactly the same. That's how the tradition is.
Can you say a few words about how alive is this tradition in this time in India?
Wow, how alive is this tradition this time in India? What I would say is that I would not, okay, there are several answers to that. One is, I can't certainly say that it is not alive, because if it was not alive, they would not all be here, right? So it is alive for sure. And the lives, the number of people that my teacher touched, it's so many, not just one or two, and across the globe, right? There are so many Brazilians who came to his class, so many Argentinians, some Australians. I mean, this camp was an Australian camp, you remember? And there he was a student of Swami Dayananda. Right? So therefore, I mean, not only in India, but I think, forget India, I think it is the whole world, right? So it is still alive. And there are teachers, and there is a culture which actually supports this tradition. Why? Because suppose a sadhu is walking on the street or goes to some place, whether people know anything or not about what he knows or not. They don't look upon him as, what is this guy with strange clothes and strange beard and things like that. There is a certain association. What kind of association? That person has given up things for something. For what? Something called knowledge. There is deep, whether you really, so this is why the first tendency of an Indian is what? You go and touch the feet. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. Because, and this culture, the moksha, almost everybody has heard. They may not know what it actually really means, but moksha is something that everybody has heard of. That there is a freedom, somebody was saying, from cycle of birth and death, everybody has heard of. Whether they know how, what, all that they may not know, but that is something which is carried on. Surya showed me, in fact when we were living in Bangkok, there was a beautiful movie. The movie was, it was a documentary, it was not a movie. It was showing that how this vision, the spiritual heritage of India is alive in every small village in India. So what they showed was beautiful. They had to show how, right? You can make that statement, but that doesn't mean that you show to others how. So the documentary was showing small panwalas. Panwalas is, at the corner, you have these people who sell little cigarettes and pan and certain things. And at night, they sit, and what are they doing? They are singing dohas of Kabir. They are singing bhajans of Meera. They are singing, in Gujarat, there was a great saint called Narsi Mehta. And all of them, whether you understand or not, they point to this reality. It is just amazing. So that means they carry it in the local language, in a totally local tradition, but they all have heard some things which actually touch their heart. It is incredible. So one of the Meera's bhajans, it's a beautiful bhajan. It says that Bhavasagar sab sukh gaya hai, jarur nahi mujhe darana lagi. This is a local language. It's not Sanskrit, it's not Vedas, it is not Bhagavad Gita. She's just expressing her understanding. What she says is that initially I thought that I had to cross the big ocean of samsara. Bhavasagar. Sagar is ocean and Bhava is what? Of this life of becoming. And that seems, imagine you have to cross Ganga. How difficult it is. What to talk of crossing the ocean? It is hard. And especially if that ocean is that of life of becoming. It is so tough. But what? She says, now that I know the reality, he says, the sagar itself is sukh gaya. Itself is dried up. I don't even need to cross. Why? Because now I understand that I don't have anywhere to cross. All that is here is you, Ishvara. Beautiful poetic expressions. Beautiful. So that means, suppose you are singing it and almost every the person who's not totally neutralized, they all have heard these bhajans. Everybody grows up with these things. So they have heard, and from a very young age. So there is something called spiritual heritage of India, and you are blessed to be born in a culture which gives it as a possibility, and something you carry within you, right? That is which makes you a person, who comes from Vedic tradition. This Narsi Mehta is exactly the same. He says, "Jagine joto jagat disene." So what I saw this very scary jagat universe. But when I woke up from my ignorance, I saw no jagat. I saw only Ishvara. All these are very poetic expressions of what? Reality. And these are very common. I'm sure Savita and her husband, who's a psychiatrist, he goes all over Maharashtra and he uses all of this, to use Indian culture and Indian knowledge for the psychiatry and the mental health.
We have that Bhargari Sampradaya.
Yeah, you have Dhaneshwar, Tukaram. There are all these great saints who live that vision, and their compositions are very freely available all over. So, if you ask them what is Parinami Upadana Karana and what is Vivarta Upadana Karana, they may not be able to answer all these questions. Yes. Suppose, what is Sopadikatyasa, what is Vyupadikatyasa, that they may not know, but they have general idea of the fact that life is meant for moksha, Ishvara is everywhere, and then there is something called freedom from life of birth and death. So that means this culture is still carrying the tradition. It is amazing. But at the same time, just because it is carrying the tradition doesn't mean people actually make an effort to know it better. Right? So we take it for granted, or we don't even realize what is the heritage that we are born with and how unique it is to be born with that intuitively to be born with that culture. In that culture is this understanding. So I have to tell you one thing, which is a beautiful thing. I'll tell you after. It is amazing. I loved it. So I had gone to a wedding in Bombay, and nowadays they want to be fashionable. So they were Hindus, but they called a Buddhist monk Rinpoche to do the wedding ceremony. So the wedding ceremony, he was called and he performed the wedding ceremony. But he had come from Dharmashala or somewhere. So the person, the host, took the opportunity and said, okay, there is a question and answer session. So people are asking that Rinpoche certain questions. And one lady got up and she asked a question. And she says, what can I do to expose myself, my kids to certain spiritual heritage or some spirituality? What can I do? And the answer of Rinpoche, I thought, was ingenious. It was so different. Generally, what do you think? What he would say? What would anybody say? Yeah, exactly. Right? That's a common answer that we think. That yeah, once the parents practice, then automatically it gets passed on to the kids. Right? His answer was totally different. His answer was that you are living in a live culture. And in that live culture, there is everything points to this vision. How can you miss being spiritual if you are living in this culture? I thought, what an answer. Everything, you go and you walk here, right? All these simple people of Rishikesh, right? They have no idea. They just see all these ashrams and they see all these people coming. They have no clue what they are coming, what they are learning. They have no idea. But they have relationship. They have relationship with God. They have relationship with the sun. Simple people. That path, that Gayatri. Hari Om. Shodan's friend, Hari Om. Right? He has no idea. He comes every day and God knows what he does, japa and all that. And everything you tell him, Hari Om. So it somehow implies that in anything he has some understanding of Ishvara being the one which governs everything. Deep inside, he has some understanding. So that means, please don't discount. We have this whole habit of criticizing, oh, India doesn't carry it anymore. Yeah, probably it doesn't carry it to the extent that it should carry, that they should value, probably. But it is very much there. It's a live culture. It's not a museum. This knowledge is not yet a museum. This culture is not yet extinct.
I think the evidence is that people travel thousands of kilometers to come.
Exactly. Wonderful. Right? That itself is an evidence. That people come, travel thousands of kilometers for this knowledge. Right? So we are, and it's a whisper. We are beholders of a culture, vision, tradition, which is based on so much wisdom and what oneness. And if we ourselves don't value it, and if we ourselves don't bother to know more about it with clarity, we are not doing our part. So we have responsibility to make sure that our tradition doesn't become something that people go to museum and see.
Or even worse, Orthodox.
Yeah, or even Orthodox, exactly.
Astrologically, this is what's happening.
Really?
Through the eons, we saw the same pattern that's coming up in the since this year, next year, and the following year. We had this same pattern in the year 550. when Islam started to develop and it became an orthodoxy and that, and this was what we call in Europe the Dark Ages. This was when all this knowledge was lost. And then before that it was 47, current era. That was, again, the ancient knowledge was starting to fade and the Christian tradition started. And then, again, 1500 years before that. So these are big eras that we're in right now, where what we decide and how we move forward will really determine how this knowledge and our environment are sustained or not. Because it's not guaranteed.
Wow.
But I think one of the most beautiful things about our tradition is that it's so unpretentious in its dissemination. Like, these folk songs have it, and it's very ambient. And you walk around and you'll see a stone has been made into a temple. They just put a red mark on it and they put a little diya and it becomes a temple. And so this is across everywhere you see that. And so there's no scholarly aspect to it, anyone can partake in it. And that I think is the beauty of
The
it.
tragedy right now is that it's becoming very political,
Yeah.
and this is what is becoming orthodoxy. And that's where all of the previous eras went wrong. As soon as Christianity becomes orthodoxy, there's violence, and the Islam becomes orthodoxy, there's violence, and so on. And this is where we're headed right now. So we need to stay awake.
Neema and I have a plan for that. We're going to use propaganda mechanism.
Yes. So I and Namu, every time we meet, right, outside the class, we always come up with something interesting, and then we always execute also. We always do that. Yeah. So we have some plans. Okay.
In that plan, please give some responsibility to us.
Ah, wonderful.
So we
Yes, we can all participate. Yes, very good. That's
No, it's a very important thing. You have to actually what is the word? Like
re-own.
re-own
Yeah.
what Hinduism stands for.
Yeah. Okay. Atha adhyatma. Yat etat Shivaha cha mano manaha anena cha ek paraspara vikshna sankalpa. Okay. So now follows this teaching of Brahman centered on the individual. So this idea is very much what Mrinalini started the class with. Now, if you figured out, these devtas are what? Those exalted deities, and they also have their sphere of influence, right? So what is the, if you have studied Tattva Bodha, you will know, Vayu is a presiding deity of what? Sense of touch. The, what is? Agni is a presiding deity of eyes, sight. Yeah, because the form, no? Agni is the first element which has a form. So Akasha, which is space, Vayu is air. They don't have any form, so you're not able to see them. So how do you know the presence of Akasha? Only because of ear. That means all the sounds take place in Akasha, in space, and the sounds get transferred. What I'm speaking comes to your ears. Where is the travel taking place? Through space. Right? So therefore, the presiding deity of ears is space. The presiding deity of sense of touch is Vayu. The presiding deity of eyes is Agni. The presiding deity of smell is earth. And taste is water. 5 elements in one. Right? So what is there out there? We have to have corresponding senses in order to capture what is out there. So now, use this example. The Vayu Devata himself was ignorant and didn't know it. What about your personal capacity, which is what? Sense of touch. Can it reach Brahman? No. The Devata itself cannot reach. Then what about Adhyatma. Adhyatma means that Devata is appearing here as sense of touch in every human being. So can you touch Brahman? Can you touch Brahman? No. It is that because of which all the touching takes place. Itself is not an object which can be touched. You understand that? Same thing with reference to eyes. What is the presiding deity of eyes? Agni. The Agni itself did not know it. Then eyes, which are within the rule of Agni, can they reach Brahman? Can you see Brahman as a form? So that means that the Devatas, which are responsible for 5 senses, they themselves don't know the reality. Then what to talk of? The 5 senses. How can they only do even more limited job than the Devatas. How can they reach Brahman? Did you understand this idea? What is at the level of Devatas, now it is brought to Adhyatma. And this is exactly what Mrinalini said at the beginning of the class. She somehow figured out, I don't know how you figured it out. That is very clever. Okay. So then she kind of connected. She connected it to Shotrasya Shotram. Then who figured it out? Tell me. What does Indra at Adhyatma level stands for? Mind. And why they call Indra as what? The king of all the Devatas. So here mind, without mind, can the senses operate? No. So in order for senses to operate, you need the mind. So the mind is what? The king of all the senses. Now, what kind of mind can reach? But how can mind reach? What kind of mind is required? How is Indra's disposition? Humble, intelligent, curious. So that means that the quality which is of a mind, which then can inquire into this reality, and then what? After, but still that mind, which is already humble and already cultured, still needs Uma.
Because
you understand?
The Yaksha disappeared also
yes.
when Indra went towards the Yaksha. That you should not forget, right?
Yeah.
So the mind by itself, when it goes also and try to figure out what is the Yaksha, which stands for Brahman, the Yaksha disappears. It doesn't reach.
And then
only Uma had to come. You understand? Because Yaksha is only just shaking your normal understanding of things, but you still need Brahma Vidya. The mind, even Indra could not figure it out. He was humble, he was curious, he was what? He was not swayed by his unusual experience, but at the same time he stood and he inquired. And when he inquired, as Surya said, if Yaksha himself, about that experience or whatever itself disappeared, what needed to be there is what? Uma, Brahma Vidya. To give you a solid and uncontradictable knowledge, without which neither Adhyatmika, for you it is possible, nor for any other celestial being which is anywhere in the universe it's possible. So you understand the implication that we say it is means of knowledge. It's not a small thing. If you want to, even Indra wants to inquire into, suppose Indra is an entity, wants to inquire into what makes his mind humble, what makes his mind curious. He has no answer until Brahma Vidya comes and teaches. This is why our chase is not for what? Going somewhere. So Swamiji always used to tell a joke. It is to tell a story, which is a telling story. So somebody was brought to this class, and while listening to this class, suppose you say, oh, there is another possibility. What other possibility? Oh, I Deva? Oh, yeah, you can become Deva. Oh, so then let me do that, right? And let me, because that's within possibility in this universe. So, oh, I'll have more power, I will have more beauty, I can have more, things to enjoy. I can actually control so much that I'm struggling to control right now. So suppose he says that now, suppose you become now you forget about Brahman and all. You want to become just a little more exalted person. Then what will happen? An experience will come when you see all your powers, no matter they are so much more in magnitude, they are not possible without something will shake you. Without, exactly, they just go away. At that time, a question arises, how is that possible? What do you need? You need teacher and you need teaching. So, if right now what are you doing? You have a teacher and you have a teaching. If you wait to go somewhere else, and then ultimately you need what? Teacher and teaching, then why not? Here. Do you understand? So he says, that man, so the story goes, that man heard about Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka sounded very attractive to him, right? Brahmaloka is a place like, he says, why should I go for moksha and all? I want to go to Brahmaloka.
In fact, it's not just a place, it's the highest possible world of experience that you can reach.
Yeah.
Highest, the most exalted. See this little description of heaven and so on, it's nothing compared to Brahmaloka.
So he says, oh, let's check it out. Let's go to Brahmaloka now. Moksha means what? No coming back, nothing, what? Boring. So let's go to Brahmaloka. So then he says, okay, then he goes to Brahmaloka because that sounds so much more fun, right? Experiencing something new, something extraordinary. So he goes to Brahmaloka and he sees Brahmaji. So the Brahmaji's form is so effulgent and so beautiful and all. So he goes to Brahmaji and he says, Brahmaji, what do you do? He says, I teach. What do you teach? He says, I teach Tattvamasi. You and me are one. That's what my local teacher was talking about. So why do you want to make a big detour, and ultimately what do you need to know? Tattvamasi. Right? Wherever in the universe you go, right? Whatever you do, whichever better form do you have, ultimately what will give you moksha? Knowing your true nature. So don't wait. Right? Don't go for, already you've been touring a lot. Going from here to there, then read one book. It's an interesting book. Many lives, many masters. That one psychiatrist in the US, so he, while doing, and he's a Jewish person, while doing this therapy, he kind of somehow got his patients to see their past lives. Right? So then the book is full of recounts of different people. So they all say that, oh, in my previous life I was born in Greece, and then previous to previous I was born in Romania, and then wherever. Right? So now, okay, so you've been traveling a lot. And then what? You are still back to square one. You are still struggling. You are still looking, searching for answer. Still fulfillment eludes you. And in the meantime, you made some trips. Wonderful. But one more trip is not going to make a difference. Even if that trip is to Brahmaloka. That is what you need to understand. Because if you want to remove your ignorance, all these lokas are within Adhyasa or outside Adhyasa? Time, space, object, universe is within Adhyasa. Entity which is within time and space universe, which goes to different places, is within then keep moving. So this is what we call moksha. So this is what Indra did. He was very smart, and after having done that, he was good. He made Agni and Vayu also get it by giving them knowledge. Now, so Adhyatmam is, did you understand that even if these Devas didn't get it, what about our senses and mind, which are our own equipment through which we know and engage in the world. So they are not capable. You need a pramana. So therefore, for that, so okay. So now, if the mind in itself does not read, so now let's read. Now follows centered on the individual. The thoughts appear to move towards this Brahman, and one recognizes this Brahman through the thoughts and meditates repeatedly. So what does it mean? Can one recognize Brahman through thoughts? No. When the words of Pramana do their job, they create what? Mental images, as we saw. Vritti-jnana. We saw that whole operation, Vritti-jnana. So more and more I reveal this reality, you need to think about this reality. So initially this is what we call growing clarity. Growing clarity means the first class of Vedanta will remove ignorance about some things. The second class, the third class, 10 years, what will happen? More and more things will become clear. Each part of the puzzle is what? Becoming what? Each part is put in its place, and then slowly, the entire vision will begin to emerge. And when you put the last piece of the puzzle in its place, what will happen? The entire picture will become clear. But can you put the last piece first? If you become the last piece first, something else has to become last. Exactly. So that means it requires series of things before the mind can reach this reality. So therefore, if you think that without all this preparation, if you get it, it is not possible. So meditation stands for what? In this case, all the preparations, right? Because it is manasa karma, it's a karma. It requires preparation. Then your mind can reach this reality. Okay? Which the Shabda Pramana makes. Okay. What is the time? Oh, okay, good. Tad vanam nama, tad idam upasitavyam, saya etat evam vedapihi haena sarvani bhutani samvachanti. Okay, so that means what is true for Indra, what is true for Agni, what is true for Vayu, which is true for human being. This is what we call means of knowledge. It doesn't change. Right? If the form has to be seen, you need eyes. Whether it is your eye or Indra's eye or Agni's eye, it doesn't matter. Without eye, there is no form. If you want to know your true nature, you need an appropriate means of knowledge. And as I told you earlier, means of knowledge means your relationship with the means of knowledge has to be proper. What it means is that suppose you say, forget all this growth part, I just want to get straight to the reality. Forget it. I want to get straight to reality, forget Ishvara. Not possible. Oh, because it's not comfortable for me. Hey, it's got nothing to do with what you are comfortable with or not. It is to do with what is. Your mind has to capture what is accurately. So the starting point of how you approach pramana is what? I don't have a solution to my fulfillment. That is the starting point. But I can't give up my search for fulfillment. That is also, I can't just put it aside. So there must be a solution. But that solution, neither I'm able to figure out or nobody else is able to figure out with the normal sense and mind that they have, even though they could be genius. All this has to be absolutely clear. So that means, and there is nothing, and so there must be a solution. But what is the nature of solution? As we saw, that mathematics that Andre showed. Mathematics that Andre showed was very important, logical thing of how to go about searching for that fulfillment. What was that logic? If I'm limited, no matter what I do, it is going to be limited. What is going to be the outcome of that limited person doing limited effort? Limited. And what I'm searching for is what? Freedom from limitation. I can't stand being small. I can't stand being insignificant. And the way I understand myself now, as body and mind, I am small. And I am insignificant. In the map of universe, I don't even figure. So that means, what is the nature? I figure. I do figure, but not even as a doctor. So what do I do? So that means I need an independent means of knowledge. But what that knowledge, what could be the, what is the only possibility of the starting point of that knowledge? If the knowledge starts with, you're limited and I'm going to do something to you, that cannot be. Why? Because doing is limited. It cannot produce freedom from limitation. The starting point of that knowledge should be, you are already free. Because by an act of doing anything, it cannot, you can't reach infinity. Not possible. You can't produce infinity by series of acts which are limited in nature. Either infinity is or it is not. So therefore, the teaching that starts with, you are already free. You are Brahman. Ayam Atma is Brahman. What kind of Brahman? Shotrasya Shotra. Chakshusha Chakshu. That Atma you don't need to look for. It is because of which your eyes are operating, because of which your mind are operating. Then how am I missing it? That is free from any limitation. Why am I missing it? Well, you have mistaken it for this little body and mind. Too bad. So that means, what, as Auntie very rightly said, what is the job of a teacher is not to produce this Atma for you, it is only to remove your ignorance of this Atma, which is your true nature. And the teacher has to understand the vision accurately so that the teacher can use the words to do the job for you. The words that the teacher uses cannot create further concepts, further theories, further, because that will take mind away from the reality. Further and further images if I make you create, it will make you miss Atma which doesn't have any form. Your mind has to be taken to your true nature where there is no corresponding image. At the same time, the ignorance of Atma teachers and the teaching has that capacity. The teaching has that capacity, has power in it to do it. You have to have what? The right mind and right attitude and use pramana wisely. Don't use pramana to twist things for your convenience. Pramana doesn't need you, you need pramana. Understand that. Why? Because you're caught in ignorance. So therefore, use it wisely. So this is what he says, Tat Ekavana. And as a result of knowing this pramana, what you understand is this worshipable Atma, which is your true nature. So this is what he says. What? Indeed, okay, now this is beautiful. Indeed, that Brahman is well known as the adorable one among all the beings. Has to be meditated upon as the adorable one among all. All beings adore that person who meditates upon this Brahman in this manner. The person who is engaging in knowing this Brahman becomes adorable by everybody else. Why?
To become sensible and reasonable.
Wonderful. That is the person who becomes sensible, reasonable, right?
Mature.
Huh?
Mature.
Mature.
I think light also,
Lighter.
He takes the attributes actually
Of the universe.
Ishvara and all these things, and it's quite the magnet for everybody.
He understands people
The
better.
person, sorry, who understands people better, less judgmental, who will not like the person who enjoys certain clarity, who understands, from the understanding, understands one's connection with everybody else, does whatever they can do to help others, has no agenda for anybody else.
Frictionless life.
Sorry? Frictionless life. And at the same time, is not a serious person who's, oh, my mission in the world is to save everyone. Hey, cheerful. And so that means cheerful because Ishvara is doing his job, within which I have to play my part. I don't have this whole big burden to what? Pass on this knowledge to each and every human being. It's not my job.
Becomes a role model for others.
Exactly. That person becomes a role model for others. You cannot imagine that there can be a person who can live life like that. So when you see, so that's why so many people ask me this question. It's a very interesting question. They ask me, after listening to everything, is there a person who you think has known this reality? So what it seems as though it is impossible to know. If it is your true nature, what is so impossible about it? Tell me. If it was something else, it could be very hard. But if it is already you, what is impossible about it? Tell me.
This is why children are so adorable.
Sorry?
It's why children are so adorable. Young children.
Yeah.
They're just like
They have no agenda. So it's interesting, you know, like my teacher, he was really funny, right? He was like not at all this serious person and all. He was joking and all. And sometimes in the class, he would joke. Whether you understand the joke or not, whether you laugh or not, he'll laugh. He doesn't have any problem of self-image. Right? Hey, you didn't get it too bad. That doesn't mean I'm a failure. I laugh at my joke because I meant to. I see the humor in what I'm saying. So wonderful. So that means there is no show. I am this wise person and I know everything. There's no show. The more and more you know, more and more spontaneous. Absolutely. You're spontaneous. Because You don't need to hold on to something. Do you need to hold on to yourself? It is because you are. Everything else happens. There is no holding on. What is there to hold on? Nothing. So that means your interaction. And that means it's like from the top, see, that wise person, where is the clarity? All the way from what? The understanding of one's true nature, which is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, to what? Ishvara, the all-pervading presence of Ishvara in all the laws. And then that is also percolated down to one's behaviors, one's attitudes, one's decisions, one's resilience, everything. So that means it's clarity all the way. It's not just kind of knowing this Brahman and everything else is just kind of skipped. Clarity is said when there is clarity all the way. Then you can say that person has it. Doesn't go and come. So this is what he says. That person becomes available. Who doesn't like that person? Free from problems. Still doing what needs to be done. Right? Because how is Lord Krishna, how is he? Very, very tricky. So many situations which are very tricky. Everybody else is struggling. He is here. Draupadi, you want the destroying of Draupadi. Bhishma was sitting there. Drona was sitting there. All her 5 husbands were there. Pandavas, they were all there. She was being disrobed and they were just sitting and watching. Right? They were trying to, please don't think that they were indifferent to what was happening to her. They were not indifferent, but they were somehow, they were incapable of what? Making things happen. They thought they were operating within dharma. That understanding itself is wrong. This is what amazing. These Mahabharata stories are wonderful. So Bhishma thought, from the standpoint of Bhishma, what was he thinking? Why did he not intervene?
Because he said that the game of dice has led to this and therefore this should be.
Superb. He was thinking in terms of dharma, and what he was looking at is exactly what Namu is saying. He's saying, Yudhishthir had a free will to Yudhana, invited him for a game of dice. Yudhishthir could have refused, but he decided to go for it. At any given point in time, he could have said, now I want to stop. Even if Duryodhana kept frauding him, doesn't mean that you have to go along. He could have said, no, I don't want it anymore. But he went along. He went along to the extent that he lost himself, his brothers, and Draupadi. Bhishma is saying, what can I do? You have used your free will. You have to pay the price for it. Who am I to intervene? So, it's not that he was indifferent. It is not that he was not following dharma. His understanding of dharma stopped here. Why did Pandavas, their own 5 husbands, why did they not intervene? They were there, very much present.
They felt already being enslaved.
Exactly. They felt that they were no longer what? That they had lost themselves.
Following dharma of slave.
Yeah, and now they are incapable because it was their act which led to this. Now what can they do? There was only one person, Krishna. When Draupadi asked him, did he hesitate? Did he use the same logic? No. So that means the wise person is not just the one who knows awareness and the one who knows all knowledge and all power. The wise person is able to make decisions which are crystal clear. So that means, what was his logic? How was he looking at the situation?
He is looking at the woman. His view is just on her, what is meant for her, and this could not be. This is not the.
There was something wrong.
Simply.
There were situations you see which is a higher dharma.
Yeah,
He knew what dharma exactly is.
What is modesty is more important than to take care of Draupadi's modesty is more important than taking care of the dice situation.
Okay, so exactly. Okay, it's very different things. What about, Vivek, you have some idea?
Since yesterday I've been thinking about this all knowledge, all power. Essentially there are two properties, if you will, knowledge and power, which probably is the ability to act. So the debate in my mind has been going on is that one needs to balance both of them. Because I think in some case I can almost say that in these examples, these very wise people might have been almost stymied by knowing too much and not acting enough.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think that is the case. I think it is, here, what I'm trying to say is, suppose there is a person who has got the reality. It is not like, oh, he knows too much, so therefore he cannot act. That's not what I'm saying at all. Not at all. In fact, what I'm saying is that if the person has really captured the reality, it has to manifest in not only what he understands, but what he does. Right? So it's not, that means, if he's not able to act appropriately, the cause is not too much knowledge. The cause is what? Inappropriate knowledge.
Could you also say, because of his values were wrong, so he was placing a higher value on the rules of the dice rather than, the violation of this woman and her, so his values were in the wrong order.
Discrimination.
I don't think
Yeah.
it was the case that he was actually valuing more the dice rather than what the situation doing. He thought that he was doing the dharmic action because this was done before him. The dice was before that, and he said, yeah, this is dharmic.
Okay. Acceptable acts
Yeah.
and not acceptable acts. Certain acts are just not acceptable, and no, nothing that I do in my life will result in an act. Can be the whatever I do in life, even if I like right now be very horrible to Namu, that doesn't mean I can be disrobed.
Okay.
That is like something is acceptable.
Another thing I
His
would say
logic,
that he
okay.
used his power to take care of, he used his power of having that continuous sari going on, so he could protect her.
Yeah, that is true. What is the nature of action he took is slightly different. But what we are now saying is, how was he able to arrive at what action which was different from many other people who looked at the situation? They were also trying to figure out what to do. They were not indifferent to Draupadi. They were not indifferent to their commitment to dharma. But because they had partial vision of things, their decision making was not totally aligned. So what I'm trying to say is, the wise person or an avatara is called wise only because the vision is complete. Exactly. The vision is so complete, which doesn't interfere in when difficult situations arise, your mind doesn't take you on a tangent. Do you understand? So the logic that Lord Krishna used is an interesting logic. He said several reasons why he intervened without even thinking for a minute. The first thing he said is that this whole game was an unfair game. Why? Because it was all a setup. Shakuni was manipulating the dice. So that means it was not a fair game which was played totally fairly. So he says, all the way there was deception. So, an outcome of an act which is all based on deception, do you need to honor that? You have no obligation to honor it. So that is the first thing. And now, the other thing, suppose Yudhishthir himself had made a completely wrong judgment on things. Draupadi cannot be the victim to this extent. It's not possible.
And Yudhishthira had lost himself already. So
Exactly.
how could he then
Exactly. So that means these are all very clever reasons. So that means it's not, too much knowing is not what the problem. But right knowing is something which is something that you need to, your indicator of how much you really understand is also how you live your life. So that means it has to percolate down. It cannot be, oh, I understand awareness and I understand all knowledge and all power, but here I'm all confused. That is not possible. That is called incomplete knowledge. Incomplete knowledge. So that means your perspectives are not, this is why so much is talked about in terms of maturity. So much in terms of maturity. Before this knowledge becomes clear. So that means that this is something, a wise person is a wise person who has certain perspectives which are not just a normal, even an evolved normal person is not able to have those perspectives. These are the stories, they are actually showing that. Do you see that? Bhishma is not an ordinary person. And Pandavas are not ordinary. But if you don't have the vision of the reality and the entire thing totally clear, your mind goes off somewhere or the other. So it is not flying with some ideas, it is making the whole thing clear. When you have that clarity, that is what we call the person lives with knowledge. Brahma Nishtha. We used this thing, right? Brahma Nishtha. Well established. Situations don't what? Shake your judgment to a way that is frivolous decision. I mean, it's not, I don't want to call it, I don't want to name it frivolous. No, that's sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. It doesn't, you don't make major errors in your decision making.
The alignment, the Dharma is constant and
non-problematic. You see, it's not vitiated by partial vision of things or giving more importance to something and not paying enough attention. All that problem goes away.
So life that seems so complicated sometimes becomes transparent.
Absolutely. That's a nice way to express it.
And I think you have to follow a certain intuition. There's something really like horrible and you can see that and there's nothing that can kind of come around that.
Yeah, but you know, that, I mean, the problem with intuition which is not backed by understanding is sometimes you can feel very strongly about things which are not true. So when intuition is backed by proper knowledge, then it becomes a very powerful tool. Otherwise, it can also lead to wrong decisions. You know.
But what about if the five husbands of Draupadi really feels now this is the limit? No? We have to stand up and help her.
Yeah, so that is there is alignment with dharma.
This is an act of intuition, limited. There is a...
Yeah, so that sometimes your intuition could be in keeping with what is to be done, but if your knowledge is not complete, in some other cases your intuition will go off. So it is not that you always have wrong intuition, but if it is not backed by knowledge, sometimes it takes you to a right decision making, sometimes not to good decision making. I mean, very simple thing. Oh, I got married to this guy. Why? Oh, I intuitively felt that this was my soulmate. Ask about 10 years later. What is the intuition give you?
And you're confused with your
Right?
life.
So please don't give over importance to your intuition. Intuition is an important tool, but it has to be backed by knowledge and understanding.
I think you touched a chord with me.
Okay, Sajini, you have a question?
I was just going to say that you were saying that.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, it wasn't a question. It was just that, just like you said a little bit earlier, that our questions tell you how much we've understood. Right? You were saying that. So similarly, our actions will also tell you how we are conveniently interpreting, misinterpreting the law of dharma.
Excellent observation.
Shakuni is dharma being interpreted according to his convenience. Everybody, you could see that.
Super.
So that's
Excellent. Did you understand what she's saying? Excellent point. Just your questions actually give an insight into how much you understand, how much deeper you are getting. Teacher it's crystal clear, right? But the teacher doesn't use it to judge others. The teacher uses to take the person's understanding to the next level, right? So this is what she says. Just as your questions are indicator of how much you understand, nobody can get into your mind and say, oh, how much you understand. Similarly, what she's saying is the nature of your actions, right, are also an indicator of how much you understand. Absolutely. So that means till the understanding is complete, there is a possibility of going wrong. Even though you are trying really hard to follow dharma, you can go on a tangent. So that also is an indicator of incomplete knowledge. Very good. Excellent observation. Very good. Yeah, Vivek, you had something?
Nothing. I understand the point, right? And this story to illustrate this point about complete knowledge. But if I go back to the knowledge and action, which to me is what I'm transferring power into. If I take this same story, I guess the question is, where do I draw this line? Because if Krishna Bhagavan knew that the dice was loaded, then why not stop it before? That should also be dharma. Why go with the brothers being given into servitude? Why have the kingdom go away, but yet draw the line at Draupadi? This, I think, where does the relative...
I think, see, please, this is something which is all these questions suppose as though what Krishna is, Ishvara is one uncle who is letting you do this or not. This is not at all what the vision of Krishna is, what all knowledge and all power, within which all our confusion takes place, within which all our actions which are based on knowledge. It doesn't come and go on saying, hey, this is what you're doing is wrong. That's not the function of Ishvara. It is when you ask what had to happen before Krishna intervened.
She prayed, she
asked for it. Please understand, it's a result of your own effort. It is not like Krishna is coming and telling you, oh, now you're going wrong. Hey, come back. That's not the job of Ishvara.
Well, later on she asked, why you didn't come before I was calling you. So he says that you were first trying to use your power, okay, to go away from Dushasana. Then you tried to use your pallu in your mouth. So you are trying your own thing. And at the end you left everything. And then you called me. That time I came. Till then I did.
Exactly. So that is, yeah, you have something to say.
Krishna was not present at that particular spot. He was far away. So Vivek was asking why Krishna didn't intervene. In Mahabharata, Krishna was not there when this incident took place.
But even if he was there, it's not his job.
They were using their free will.
I think the point about prayer is good. That's the difference, and that's
Exactly. Same thing with reference to Arjuna, right?
Right.
Arjuna, Lord Krishna from the childhood would have taught him Gita, but Arjuna had to ask for it only then.
Right.
Okay. Until then, Ishvara is possibility, lets you explore in the world, see how far you can go with your free will and your intellect. And then, if you can't go too far, and if you recognize I can't go too far, and you ask for it, knowledge will come. Otherwise, they will keep eluding you.
That's a beautiful example.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate